Welcome to the Healing Us podcast, your guide to unlocking the strength within. Are you ready to embark on a journey towards healing and well-being? The ultimate destination for mental health and addiction recovery awaits. We're talking stories of hope, different approaches to healing, and so much more. At Healing Us, we believe in the power of a connected community. Our facilities are located throughout New Jersey and Southwest Florida. We provide a long-term safe haven for anyone looking to achieve lifelong happiness. We invite you to join us, along with countless others, as we explore this journey together. Together, we can overcome any challenges and embrace a future filled with healing, hope, and happiness. Join us.
We are joined here today by Christine and Stephanie Ciccone. They're a family that has dealt with addiction in many different ways, different mental health issues, and they're here today to share their experience with their sister and their daughter, Kim, who's very involved. She's on a previous episode, and we're just going to hear from the mother's perspective, touch on the siblings' perspective, which I think gets lost a lot in the story of addiction, and yeah, thank you for coming on. Welcome to the show.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I want to kick off a little bit, Stephanie, with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Your sister had a journey. You're both, talk to me a little bit about it. You're both adopted at a young age. It's just two of you?
Just the two of us.
Just two of you. So, two young girls. What's the age difference?
We're about 3 years apart.
3 years apart. Okay. So, me and my brother also 4 years. No, we're 3 years apart as well. So I can, relate. You kind of grow up going to school together. That's your sibling. It's your best friend, built in automatically. So when they go, I find in family dynamics what we've seen. I'm sure Christine also runs the family group at CFC. So I'm sure you can kind of touch on this. A lot of times, parents have, both sons are addicted, or both daughters are addicted, or all three kids are struggling. And in a lot of family dynamics, they kind of bring each other down, and it's really hard to get the whole family well again. In other dynamics, which is, something that I experienced, my brother struggled with his addiction, and I became the opposite. I became the overachiever, which is a lot of family dynamics as well. So kind of what was your experience as a sibling, and where were you at when Kim was going through her addiction?
You hit the nail on the head when you said overachiever. So through my whole life, I struggled with anxiety myself. But I was always pushed to be the best version of myself because of my parents. So I did what I thought somebody was supposed to do. Go to college, get married, right? Turned out that my first marriage did not work out. I had a hard time going through that. My anxiety got the best of me, wound up in a divorce, and started me on my journey of building myself and making myself a better person. In the meantime of doing that, my sister fell to addiction, and it was hard for me to watch, and I wanted to help her the best that I could. I didn't really know how, and I knew that my parents, all of their attention was on her, as it should be, as it 100% should be. So I was the child that was, how I like to say it, just okay. How's Stephanie? She's okay. How is she doing in school? She's fine. She's good.
Yeah. No problems are good problems.
Right. And I was going through life just doing the best that I could so that they didn't have to worry about me.
100% nailed it. I'm sure there are siblings listening right now that are like, whoa, that's me. Help. Because that's your best friend. So it's so hard to see them struggling, but you're also so mad because you're like, hold on. Mom and dad were great, or maybe they weren't great, but now you're getting all this attention. I'm doing all the right stuff. It is so hard. It's so hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
And I worked to push myself in school, in my job, just so I can be, the daughter that I thought that they would be really proud of.
Right.
Because again, like I said, I was doing it just so they didn't have to worry about me, because I knew and I wanted all their attention to be on my sister, because that's life or death.
Right.
And all I wanted was for her to be okay, and then I didn't know how to help.
Yeah. It's so important, because it ends up catching up with you though. And I can relate to this greatly. And then Christine, I want you to jump in where you feel comfortable as well, because you had both to carry at that time, right? Both daughters. You had to share enough love with Stephanie to let her know that she was doing a good job, but Kim was your main focus at that time. And I know that my mom did her best, you know, trying to chase Dan around California and pay attention to me. But at the same time, what happens is you become an overachiever, and the anxiety of that as you grow into adulthood is really extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can ask my mom. I keep going back to school, even now, and nobody's putting pressure on me. I'm doing it myself. Like the amount of degrees that I have is like because I keep pushing myself to try to be the best version of myself.
This goes back a long way because Kim was born with Clark-Levin palate. So when we adopted her, we really didn't know what we were in for, but we had an idea. And it began immediately. So I got her 3 weeks old. By 4 weeks, we were already in the hospital for our first surgery. And, you know, when you first have your first child, you have so much love for that child that you almost think to yourself as a parent, how am I going to find enough love for my second child? I have given all my love to this one child. Second child comes and you have equally as much love for that child as you had for the first, but you didn't realize it at first. But my real problem with it was, if I think back to that time, every time Kim had a surgery, I can't tell you where she was.
Right.
Now, do I know that she was well taken care of? Absolutely. But because my focus from a very young age had to go on to Kimberly, and she was good, thank God, it made life a lot easier to be able to put my focus where it needed to be. Some surgeries were really hard. We were in there for a week, and we came home and we had weeks and months of recovery. So it made the journey for her a lot different, having a sibling right from the onset that required parents' attention. It just is what it is, right? So did she become stronger? Yes, because of it, absolutely. But if I could think back, she dealt with anxiety from a very young age. Before I even realized she had anxiety, the teachers were telling me that she suffered from anxiety. But I never really saw it. So it was like...
And I think when we talk about a sibling having an addiction journey, we could relate that to a sibling being sick. You know, it doesn't even have to be addiction related. I think it, to your point, it started so long ago when Kim was in the hospital. And Stephanie, you were dealing with trying to not give your parents anything else to worry about,
Right.
Which think about the anxiety that puts on a kid unintentionally,
Right.
You know,
And it was nothing, honestly, as a parent, you look back and you say, well, there's nothing really you could have done about it differently. It had to be as it was. And today, we will stand here stronger because of it.
100%.
right?
I wouldn't change the journey any other way, even all the way, and sounds crazy to say, but even all the way through the addiction. I mean, all of these things have happened for a reason. And if you really believe that life doesn't give you what you can't handle, then you can get through what you need to get through, stand strong, somehow deal with it, get on the other side. And I mean, I'm grateful to be able to look back at what the other side looks like and say, Kim's a better person because of it. Stephanie is a better person because of it. I'm a better person because of it. My husband's a better person because of it. And our relationship as a family is better because of it.
Well, because it also rips open the elephant in the room, right? A lot of families never talk about any of their issues, whereas when you're forced to go through addiction or you're forced to go through things, like you have to. You don't have a choice. And that's why our original logo was an elephant, right? Because we ripped open that awkward silence of family dynamics. And obviously, Christine, you know, as a parent, you've gone through so much just from their early years and what raising that, you know, two sisters looked like. And then obviously you were thrown another curveball. But you were able to still keep composure and kind of guide Kim towards those resources and things like that.
And it didn't always look like composure. I mean, the honest truth of it is I think the reason why I can facilitate the family group meeting is because no matter who is there, no matter who's speaking, no matter who's sharing, we've all been there. We've all said it. We know exactly how each other is feeling. Remember, we had the sibling meeting and Stephanie was on the panel. And I'm sitting there, her mom and dad are sitting there, and I said, I want you to talk, but I want you to talk about what you need to talk about. Don't worry that we're here. Don't worry about what you're saying. Don't worry that it's going to upset us or offend us in any way, shape, or form. And I think prior to that, there would have never been a forum where you would have felt comfortable
Yeah.
and then not get any repercussion from it.
Well, I think
Correct.
to talk about, you know, your situation, Stephanie, and like when I talk about my side of the story and what I've struggled with as a sibling, it's not a blame thing. It's a situational thing. It's like, this was our family. This is what happened. This is where I ended up. It's not like I'm like, Dan, you're the reason I struggled with perfectionism or anxiety in my later 20s, right? It's just all situational. So how do you feel, you know, talking to other siblings, like what is something you would say to a sibling that's kind of going through that? That's like their brother or sister's inactive addiction. Like how would you, you know, if you're on the panel right now, what are you saying?
Number one, that you are not alone. You are not invisible. Your parents see you. They know that you're there. And just be the support that you need to be for your family. So in my mind, I try to be like my parents' rock by trying to be strong. And that's, for me, that's how I thought I helped with the situation. So that's what I had to do. I just had to, they needed me. I was there.
Yeah.
So just know that you're not invisible, even if sometimes it might feel that way.
Yeah. That's such a great thing to say. And it's so hard because when you talk about like your parents, like my mom never made me feel invisible. No, it's not like it's something they did, but it's just a natural reaction when part of you, your sibling, is going through that. You just
Something
feel
that's
that
like
way.
her death.
Yeah.
You know, like she had to give her all her attention. So
Right.
there's no blame. So not in any way, shape, or form.
It's also hard, I think, to watch your parent, depending on how old you are when your sibling's experiencing this. Like for me, for example, I was freshly off to college. I was 18, just moved down. I was first time away from home. You know, Dan's in active addiction, really, really bad. And my parents are barely there. I'm trying to get straight A's. I remember I came home my first spring break that March, and that was his final run, his final hurrah, if you will. And I just saw my mom cry like you never want to see a parent cry, because we didn't know if he was alive. We didn't know where he was. And she, like, just my entire spring break, I just held my mom while she cried.
Yeah.
And that was something, like, I was 18, and it's like, I was, you know, you have to be that rock because that's your role at that time. But as like an 18-year-old, you're like, geez, like this is too heavy it's too soon, you know? And you don't realize that you carry that into adulthood.
Yeah, and a part of me too, I was kind of mad at my sister because I saw what it did to my parents and her family. And of course, we've grown and we've gotten better and we move forward. But sometimes, you know, a part of it that I think people don't talk about is the anger, because it was there.
Yeah.
You know? And I was scared. Of course, I was scared I was going to lose her. But
You're mad.
yeah. And I think people don't say it because they're afraid to. But I think that a part of it is madness, sadness, anxiety. Like there's a whole bunch of things that you're trying to deal with.
I think the only thing that honestly makes that better is time, especially when your sibling, time and education, because you're so angry. I remember when Dan first came home, he said, I'm saying sorry is not going to make you like feel better. I can prove like I'm sorry through my actions, and that's what I'm going to do. And he did. And he's, you know, I think 13 years sober, thank God. And I always say, you know, I got lucky. Like we got lucky.
You got lucky.
And we know a lot of siblings closely. You know, I know we have a mutual friend who weren't so lucky, and that's transformed their life on the other side, you know? So, I'd love to kind of hear where we want to take this next, because there's a lot we could dive into. You know, what do you think is like the best support you can give your sibling, like with boundaries or, you know, just showing them that like you still love them, you care, but you want them.
In our family with Kim, we needed boundaries. And it was very hard for me, but I knew that to show her that I loved her, I had to put up a boundary. And that's what we did. That's what our whole family did.
I think as the parent, I knew at the end of the day, no matter how this turned out, whether the outcome was good or bad, that I wanted to take that role and that responsibility from everyone. So I made it very clear to everyone that, again, there's no one size fits all, but for us, I wanted it to be that we were going to have to make this decision for the family, and this is what we needed to do, because at the end of the day, it was going to be our decisions if she didn't make it, or our decisions if she did make it. That would have been great, but everything she did was, everything Kim did, she was the one who did it, right? And the background as a parent, you're just setting these boundaries, hoping that one of them sticks. And it's not it's in an effort to bring, Lynn says this all the time, not that you want them to hit rock bottom, but you want to bring the bottom up to them. So every boundary we set was in an effort, hopefully, we had no idea if it was going to work, but to bring the bottom up. And so that's what we worked on together as a family. But sometimes it took phone calls from family to family member to family member to family member. And I remember doing that one day. And when I spoke to one family member, the response was, I don't think I can do that. And I said, well, if you can't do it and you think that you have a better way to do it, and my daughter dies because of it, I'm going to come after you and I hold you responsible. Because that's how it really felt to us. So, you know, we did set boundaries as a family. We tried to stick as a family. And I think that helped, because when Kim thought about it, she knew if I said the whole family's going to be on this page, she knew that that was going to happen.
And it's so important, because the minute that I think people stop taking like setting a boundary and then being serious about it is completely different than setting a boundary and then letting the person get away with it. Because the minute you do that, they know that they could just break every boundary you set. So I think that's like such a great lesson.
I took that boundary from when you were a kid and we were driving in the car and I had a tape that I did all the singing in.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh, yeah. They both remember it. And I did all the singing and I had the tape in the tape recorder and they were fighting. And I said, I'm going to throw this tape out the window if the two of you don't stop. And I think I counted to 3.
We stopped.
No, you didn't stop.
And you threw it out.
The tape went right out the window. And that proved the point from day one, that if I said it, I meant it, and it was going to happen. So
my mom, she had some funny lessons when we were little. One rule was we could fight as much as we want, but we have to hold hands while we fight. And I don't know if you've ever tried to fight with somebody and hold their hand. It's impossible. You can't do it. You can't do it. You'll be screaming and then you start laughing. So that was the best one. And then she bought one of those like life-size teddy bears, because we used to always fight over shotgun. And the teddy bear was named Shotgun. And like we all were beat. Like the minute Shotgun was in the car, we had to shut up. So, and she would just put him in the front seat and she'd ride with the teddy bear next to her. But it's so funny because you do, those lessons make a big deal. They make a big impact as kids get older. You know, if somebody asks for an iPad and then they get it right away, what's it going to be like later when there's bigger problems?
Right.
So after Kim had obviously been through her journey, you saw her at a really dark point, kind of found some great resources, guided her in that direction. What have you, how have you kind of measured where she's at, or, adjusted, made sure she's staying on the right track? Where are you at today now that she's got a couple of years under her? How do you kind of manage that?
I know for Kim, it's doing what she loves. So if I see her drawing, if I see her being social and being with her friends, then dressing, she's our fashionista, wearing her cute little outfits, doing her hair, her makeup, I know that she's in a good spot, going to the gym. So doing what she loves and being her funny, goofy self, I know that she's on the right track. And I love seeing it. It makes me so happy.
It's a hard question for me. I think it's because with addiction, I just put myself in the food addiction. So if someone's really watching me and micromanaging how I'm doing, it's probably going to make me worse. So, if I choose to eat the French fries and everybody's eyes are on me while we're sitting at the diner, it's not going to sit well with me. So I really think that I leave that portion up to Kim at this point.
Trust.
I've gotten to the point that I trust what she's doing. I trust where she's at. I don't have a reason to be concerned. And if I do have a reason to be concerned, we've gotten to the point now that I will just come to her and say, I need to talk to you. and this is what I want to talk about. And it doesn't even have to be about, it's not about addiction. It's not about we're going to go to a party and there's going to be alcohol there. How are you going to handle that? I'm comfortable with all of that. But if I see something that triggers a negative response in me, so it's not really something she's doing that she's doing wrong, but it has a negative effect on me because it's my trigger.
Right.
I'll talk to her about it, and then we'll talk through it in a way that we've never been able to before. And because of that, I leave this journey now up to her. And I trust that she can do it, because I've also learned there's nothing I can do to stop it if it's going to happen. There's nothing I can do to control it. And controlling is one of my biggest issues in life. So I need to learn to pull that in. It's not easy, but that's where I really want to be at.
And you trust that she's going to make the right choices. I mean,
I need to believe that this is her life. She's going to make the choices that make her happy. And it's not my journey. It's not my journey. Her life is not my journey.
How
I gotta be there to support it. But
how important was, aftercare in Kim's journey and peer support and, finding kind of roots at CFC?
I can say it was everything that changed for her. Becoming house manager, like Frank spoke about. She was, I think, house manager. She was in that sober living for 18 months. It gave her everything she needed to get to where she needed to be. She made decisions after that to leave. I didn't support it verbally. I supported it verbally. I didn't support it in my heart, but I gave her the support that she needed. She did what she wanted to do. In 2 weeks, she realized it wasn't what she wanted to do. She said, I'm coming home. I'm there for her. CFC was there for her. They offered her a position straight on from coming back. It's been everything to this journey. I'm so grateful that I found CFC. After I found out that she was addicted, I was at CFC 3 days later begging for help. They helped me immediately to get her help. And they've been there every step of the way for us. And everything that Lynn said, I held on to because I wanted the same success Lynn had with Dan. And
now you're leading parent groups, so you're influencing a lot of other families. You're passing that message, which is amazing.
We try. We try to. It's. I've learned too that in that particular group, there isn't a one size fits all. Everybody has to go through their journey the way they see fit, and it doesn't look the same for everyone.
It doesn't. And Stephanie, having watched Kim now, I'm sure even though she was sober at another point in her life, she's probably a much more blossomed, independent, strong individual, having found recovery. How have you, in her journey and coinciding with her journey, helped yourself and what you struggled with?
Just by seeing her grow and be successful and happy, and her creative self has made me feel like everything, like my mom said before, everything we went through as a family made us who we are today. And we are such a stronger unit because of it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming in. That was awesome. Everybody was so good.